Are you living the divine life? Many of us are not, and there just might be a few things keeping us from this. Welcome to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymond Anderson. In our program, you'll learn to use the tools that have been given to you to make changes that you need, and by doing so, come one step closer to living that divine life. Now, here is your host, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson.
Namaste. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living a Sacred Life. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson. Now, today we're going to do something a little bit different. Recently, March 24th, the day before my birthday, I was the guest minister at Celebration Center in Falls Church, Virginia. And the theme or topic of my talk that day was, with great power comes great responsibility. Today I would like to add on to that talk. So consider this episode the extended version of that talk, where I will go more in depth and give you a little bit more to chew on and consider in your journey and process of awakening to the greatness that you are. So, for the duration of this educational video, I would like you to sit back, relax, be open to learning, and enjoy. Love you. Namaste.
Okay, so before we begin, let's have a little bit of fun by testing your superhero IQ. How many of the following superheroes can you name as quickly as you can? Are you ready? Get set. Let's go. So, were you able to name many of the superheroes that you just saw? You noticed, I'm sure, that amongst the images of Superman and Wonder Woman were Dumbledore, Yoda, and perhaps even more surprisingly, Gandhi, Anne Frank, and the Dalai Lama. Now, I want it to be quite clear that everyone you just saw, both the fictional and the non-fictional, are in fact, by my definition, superheroes. And it is based on that definition that you are amongst those you've just seen. Okay, take a pause, take a breath, because I know that that possibly is a bit much for some of you to grasp, understand, or even harder to accept. Nonetheless, you are a superhero. Okay, that might be a bit hard to swallow, because, you have your own definition of what it means to be a superhero. So let's try this smaller bite. You have parents, and from your parents you inherited something called DNA. Now, this DNA is your genetic code. It's the blueprint that makes you the biological being that you are. And yet, there is something that is uniquely you that DNA does not determine. The books that you're reading, your favorite shirt, what you eat for breakfast, where you work, or your spiritual beliefs. These are not biologically determined in the way that your eye color is determined, your gender, your sexual orientation, or your height are encoded. A scientist cannot, at least not at this time, examine a person's DNA and tell where they live, who they're married to, what they believe, or what they like to read. Now, spiritually, we know that beyond your height, your weight, your skin color, there is a you that transcends such limitations or labels. And it is this you that also transcends space and time and the illusion of death. And it is also this you that is spoken of when we say, you are made in the image and likeness of God. Whoa, the image and likeness of God. Okay, so that brings me to two questions then. God looks like what? And God's image is what? Precisely. God is without bounds, labels, limits, specific shape, or form. Therefore, you also are without bounds, labels, limits, specific shape, or form. And if we continue along this train of thought for a moment, if you are made in the image and likeness of your, quote, Heavenly Father, Mother, God, then you have the DNA of God, just as surely as you have the biological DNA of your human parents. So I hear you asking, Ray, what do you mean I have the DNA of God? To which I reply, you do have the DNA of God. The DNA, the divinely natural attributes. These are the building blocks of all that is, even your biological DNA. I mean, think about it. Before the creation of creation, whether we're talking Genesis or we're talking the Big Bang, before there was God. And it was from God that God created all that is. I mean, it's not like God went to heaven's version of Home Depot and got a bag of earth and a bottle of ocean and a package of animal stuff, and from all this stuff built and grew life. I mean, where would all that stuff have come from? And besides, that would imply that there was God and something else. So, since we know that there is only one, we know there was not God and something else. So it was God using its own spiritual nature, created everything of itself. From itself, of itself, created various manifested forms, each and every one of them made in the image and likeness of God, made from the image and likeness of God. Because there can be nothing else. So, here you are. You and God are one. There is not God and you, because that implies separation, and it is not possible to separate or to be separate from God any more than it is possible for a sunbeam to be separate from the sun, or a wave to be separate from the ocean. It cannot be done. So, get over it. You and God are one. This is why Jesus, as he was so skilled at doing, had the Pharisees shut up when he told them, ye are gods. Now, in case you're not familiar with the full passage, or at least the two verses, in the Bible, in John 10:33 and 34, it says, we are not stoning you for any good work, they replied, but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God. Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods? Okay, pause for a moment. Why would Jesus make that reference? Was he lying? Was he exaggerating? Oh, no, I know what it was. It's what many theological experts believe, that Jesus was teaching in a parable, that we misunderstand or we've misinterpreted what he means here, that he didn't mean what he was saying. Really? Because when you look at the parables of Jesus, it's very clear when Jesus is teaching, speaking, or preaching via a parable, and when Jesus is being very blunt and direct. This is not a parable. It is blunt and direct. Therefore, Jesus is making a very profound spiritual point. And it is this spiritual point that many theological experts would prefer that we underplay, because with great power comes great responsibility. What Jesus is saying, it doesn't get any more powerful than that. I have said you are gods. You are made in the image and likeness. You have the DNA of God. Doesn't get any more powerful than that. And yet, it is that very greatness that we underplay. I mean, remember the Marianne Williamson quote, "Our deepest fear," where she says, "It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us. It's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That is a huge paradigm to shift. Because you are not the lowly human, bound in sin, made to suffer and die, and possibly even then to continue to suffer in hellfire for all eternity. You are a divine incarnation of God itself. God in human form, experiencing life as a human, and yet the divinity that is God lives in, as, and through you. In, as, and throughout all of everything, everywhere. I mean, that's what the Hindu greeting, Namaste, is referring to. The God, or the divine, that is within me, and that is the truth of me, sees and honors and acknowledges the divine truth of you. God in me greets itself in you. Though we seem separate, we are one. Now, if we are God, and we are, then why do some people abuse, rape, kill, torture, and harm others? Why would God do that to itself? Well, in my studies, I've come across two theories or positions that, sort of seem to make sense and can coexist with one another depending on how you look at it or how you perceive. And theory number one proposes the idea of the soul contract, where souls agree to experience certain things in the human realm, and so they agree with other souls or soul mates, soul accomplices, in order to manifest certain things and experiences in the human life. For example, soul number one says that I want to understand and experience forgiveness. Well, in order to experience forgiveness, there must be something to forgive. And so, soul number 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 12, and 50 manifest or demonstrate or come into existence with soul number 1. And through a series of divinely orchestrated events, things happen in order for soul number 1 to experience forgiveness. Meaning, all of the soulmates and soul accomplices do things so that the other soul will have a reason to forgive. For example, there's a story, and I'm not sure where I heard this story. I think it's called The Littlest Soul, where this little soul goes before God and says, God, I want to be born into a human life, and I want to understand, or I want to experience forgiveness. And just as God is getting ready to say, okay, soul number 2 steps up and says, that's cool. Then I want to go with you and give you something to forgive. That's the general idea of a soul contract. Now, the tricky part in that is it still implies a sense of duality, that there is this soul and that soul versus being one soul. Now, the second theory or position states that, or proposes that, God, as all of these individuals on the planet, had to, per se, slow down its spiritual vibration to manifest in human form. And in becoming physical form, in moving from the immaterial to the material, there is a certain shift in consciousness or sense of knowing. And so the person, the soul, as it becomes a person, it forgets where it really came from. It forgets who and what it really is. So in this sense, the person is God, but doesn't know that they're God. They believe, they buy into the lie that they're just this lowly human. So they're walking around in this sleep state. You know, they're not really fully awake. They're not enlightened. They believe that they're human. And as human, why would I believe that I'm God? So as human, I buy into the dog eat dog, lack and scarcity, and gotta get you before you get me. And so people react and respond from that belief. So there we have two possible theories, ideas, or positions that may point the finger to why humans do what humans do. And regardless of whether or not they are true or not true, close or billions and billions of miles far from the truth, what is true and what matters most is that God is all there is, and that divine order is running through and throughout all of creation. So whether we understand why humans do what they do or not, the number one thing for us to be mindful of is, what part do we play in this divine orchestration that we call life? Yes, there are some people who are bound to the illusion, bound to the lie, bound to a belief system rooted firmly in scarcity and lack, and as I said, dog eat dog, and I gotta get you before you get me, and that's where they're operating from. They're almost like zombies. Their minds gone. Their only thought, if you want to call it thought, or their only instinct is to eat. To eat and devour and eat and devour. That's it. And so these people hurt and harm. They operate from a place of selfishness. Where do you operate from, though? Because as more and more of us operate from this place of divine love and compassion, from abundance and prosperity, the zombies will die out. You know, this reminds me of it reminds me of two stories. The first story is about a monastery somewhere. I'm going to make this up right now and say it's Tibet, but it may have well been India or China. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, where it was doesn't really matter. So one day, or one evening, this monk is walking around the monastery grounds, doing his usual nightly rounds. And as he walks past the giant clay statue of Buddha, he flashes his flashlight and sees a glimmer. The glimmer catches him off guard, and he turns back and shines the light again. And lo and behold, there's this glimmer again. And he's wondering, what is that? What's reflecting or shining or sparkling back at me? So he decides he needs to inspect closer. So he goes closer and shines the light, and there's this sparkle. And he gets really intrigued. So he goes back into the little storehouse and he grabs a hammer and a chisel, and he comes back and he starts slowly chipping away at the statue. And to make a long story short, he discovers that beneath the clay there's gold. And historians have come to say that many hundreds of years ago, before this monk, there were monks living there with this gold Buddha. And as an army of invaders was coming in, the monks feared that the Buddha would be stolen and melted down for, the treasure that it was for this invading army. So the monks carefully and painstakingly covered the gold Buddha with clay. The invading army came, saw this useless and worthless statue, and went about their business. And the monks, never bothering to uncover it for fear that the invaders may return, they left it. And so generation of monks dies and goes on, and the next generation and the next generation, until eventually it was forgotten that there was even a golden Buddha at all. Until this one monk discovers that beneath the clay was in fact a golden Buddha. How many of us are walking around believing or living from this place of, I'm a clay statue, or I'm this name, or I'm that job, versus understanding or recognizing what we are beneath the surface? This reminds me of an old Hindu legend where it says, there was once a time when all human beings were gods. But they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from them and hide it where it could never be found. Where to hide their divinity was the question. So Brahma called a council of the gods to help him decide. Let's bury it deep in the earth, said the gods. But Brahma answered, no. That will not do, because humans will dig into the earth and find it. Then the gods said, let's sink it into the deepest ocean. But Brahma said, no, not there, for they will learn to dive into the ocean and will find it. Then the gods said, let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and hide it there. But once again Brahma replied, no, that will not do either, because they will eventually climb every mountain, and once again take up their divinity. Then the gods gave up and said, we do not know where to hide it, because it seems that there is no place on earth or in the sea that human beings will not eventually reach. Brahma thought for a long, long time, and then said, here is what we will do. We will hide their divinity deep in the center of their own being, for humans will never think to look for it there. All the gods agreed. that this was the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And since that time, humans have been going up and down the earth, digging, diving, climbing, and exploring, searching and searching for something already within themselves. It's pretty deep. Makes you think back to what I said before about Jesus saying, "Is it not written in your law that ye are gods?" The very divinity that we seek is already within us. It is the truth of all that we are. We, though in human form, or we appear to be humans, are in fact spirit appearing as humans, God appearing in human form. You know, there are various personas or personalities, facades that we cover ourselves up, like the golden Buddha covered in mud. The true golden or the true God nature, the true Christhood of what we are remains intact, full and unchanged, yet it is merely invisible or hidden, unseen, because we are unaware and asleep. You know, that's what enlightenment is actually about. It's not some massive, huge, snap, crackle, and pop experience. You are already it. Did you know that when Siddhartha, the Buddha, became enlightened, he was not the only one to become enlightened? I mean, his process of enlightenment enlightened everybody in that moment when he became awakened. So profound was that awakening that he awakened us all in that moment. So think about it this way. It's almost like you move into a new house and you have electrical appliances, a TV and, stuff, but you never plug anything in. You don't plug the computer in, you don't plug the microwave in, you don't plug your lamps in because, it's a new house. You don't think you have electricity. However, the electricity is already on. You have to make use of it. You have to plug in. Turn on the radio. There are stations upon stations upon stations available, but it's up to each of us to tune into whatever radio station. We have the choice whether or not we're going to listen to this or that. Do you want to tune into 000.0 life sucks and then you die? Or do you want to tune into, you want to tune into 66.6, what's the point? It's all evil, boo-hoo-hoo radio, where we give you reasons to cry all day and all night. Or do you want to tune into, 1111 GOD radio, where it's all good, all God, all the time? The choice is yours. It's already there. Whether or not you turn the radio on at all, you do realize that the radio stations, the radio waves are already there. Whether you plug in the electrical appliance or whatnot, doesn't matter. The electricity is there anyway. It's already there. It's already available. The exact same thing exists right here, right now for you in terms of your divinity. That's power. Because it's up to you. It's not up to anyone else. It's completely and totally up to you. So let's talk power. You have two choices. You can live a life on purpose, empowered, as a conscious creator, or you can live a life from the default setting of the race mind or race consciousness, a consciousness based on lack, limitation, scarcity, and fear. Let me tell you a little story about a bacteriologist who decided no longer to continue doing things as things had been done. And as a result, something great emerged. So in 1928, there was a Scottish bacteriologist who was working in a hospital in London. And it was his job to re-examine some of his earlier cultures. And on this particular day, by chance, he noticed that one of the cultures showed some mold spores that had, in effect, spoiled. And rather than doing what many before him had done, and rather than doing what he himself had done before, he did not throw the samples out. Rather than throw them out, he decided to investigate further. And as a result of this further investigation, he found that the culture of pus-forming bacteria dissolved when in contact with this mold. And when he put the mold in a growth-producing broth, he found that from the mold there passed a substance so powerful that it stopped a small army of disease-producing germs dead in their tracks. And it was from this discovery that penicillin and other antibiotics were born. This man decided to change the way things were done. He decided to look at things differently. And as a result, a discovery. And as a result of this discovery, on this particular day, by chance, by serendipity, lives of countless millions have been saved with penicillin and other antibiotics. Let's talk power. On this one particular day, an African American woman decides she is not going to continue to do things the way they have been done. She's tired and she wants to sit. She refuses to give up her seat on the bus. And as a result, she's arrested. And a young minister is asked to become involved in this growing civil rights movement. And this young minister decides to do just that. And as a result of his involvement, the movement grows. And it grows until a nation is forced to change. And this young minister, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had been influenced by another single man in a country, oh so very far away. And this one particular man, whose name was Gandhi, changed not only the nation of India by having the British withdraw their rule of his country, but this one man, in effect, ended a war. He decided not to eat for as long as the war continued. He did not want his people to continue fighting each other, and so he vowed to not eat. And as a result of him not eating, many on the battlefield said to one another, "What do you mean Bapu is not eating? What do you mean? I am done. I do not want to fight anymore." And they stopped fighting. This one man, whom Martin Luther King Jr. called the greatest Christian that he knew, influenced what later became the civil rights movement, and in effect became every rights movement ever since. Women's rights, animal rights, gay rights can be traced to the civil rights, can be traced to Mohandas K. Gandhi, one man who changed the world. That's power. Helen Keller, blind and deaf, became an author, teacher, diplomat at a time when people who were quote-unquote handicapped were institutionalized and locked away. Orville and Wilbur Wright create a machine that defies gravity, a machine that how many people use in any given day? How many planes exist as a result of Orville and Wilbur's creation? Einstein, Thoreau, Roosevelt, Mandela, Anne Frank, Steve Jobs, and countless others have demonstrated the power that not only they possess, but a power that we all possess. It's time to stop saying, but they are different, but they are special. I'm not. Jesus said, greater shall you do. You already, right now, are a perfect creator. I mean, think about it. You are creating your life right now with every thought, with every word, with every deed. It is right now being done unto you according to your thoughts. This is why the Buddha said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. And we already know that the words we speak are connected to the thoughts we think, because you're not going to say something that isn't first showing up in mind. And this is why Proverbs 18:21 says, the tongue has the power of life and death. The thoughts you think and the words you speak affect the life that you live. A thought held in mind produces after its own kind. What farmer dares to plant an apple seed thinking an orange tree will grow? An apple seed will never grow an orange tree. Thinking of what you cannot do, thinking that I'm too old, too fat, too thin, too poor, too ugly, too this or too that, will never create the life that you desire. Unless, that is the life you desire. Do you desire a life that you feel and move from the position of, I'm too old, I'm too fat, too thin, too ugly, too poor? Is that where you want to live from? Or would you rather live from, I'm perfect, I can be, do, and have what I desire? I understand and I believe what Jesus said when he said, believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Or at least believe on the evidence of the works themselves. Verily, truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these. You and God are one. Just as Jesus said, I am in the Father and the Father is in me. One. So stop right now. You are made in the image and likeness of God. The DNA of God. The building blocks of all that is, all that you are. You are not made to be small. You are not made for greatness. You are greatness itself. In the story, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, there's a passage where Jonathan is speaking to Fletch, one of the other seagulls, and Jonathan tells him, don't believe what your eyes are telling you. All they show is limitation. Look with your understanding. Find out what you already know, and you'll see the way to fly. It's already who and what you are. The Science of Mind says on page 271, the possibilities of the law are infinite, and our possibilities of using it are limitless. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You have the divinely natural attributes of God. So yes, you are a superhero because you are heroic. You are heroic. H. You are holiness and health itself. All that you are, in essence and in truth, is holiness and is health. E. Empowerment and enlightenment. You have the very power of the Creator. You are already awakened, alive, fully and completely, simply by your acknowledgement of it. You are empowerment and enlightenment itself. You are righteousness and radiance itself. You are omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, and order itself. You are inspiration and intelligence itself. You are creativity and compassion itself. And as you awaken to and live from the truth of this knowing that you are heroic, you can be, do, and have whatever you desire. Because once you get to that place, there's nothing to desire. It's already done. That's why the Bible mentions that before you ask, God has already answered. It's already done. The fact that you have the thought of it, it is already fully formed and manifested in mind. All it needs to do is go from the immaterial to the material, but it's already done. Think about, and I love this guy. This guy, Nick Fujisik. When you look at him, what do you see? Do you see can't? Do you see impossible? Do you see pitiful? Do you see an invalid? Someone who is invalid. Nick is far from being invalid. He's a perfect example of what impossible truly means. Impossible means I'm possible. Nick golfs. Do you? And now keep in mind, there's a difference between saying, well, I don't like to golf. But there's a thing when we underlive our lives. Here's a man with no arms and no legs who does what many of us don't do. When we're running around complaining about being bored, having nothing to do, not living life to its fullest, here's a man with no arms and no legs who golfs. Nick surfs. Do you? Nick writes. Do you? Nick speaks and teaches. Do you? Nick swims. Do you? Nick is happily married and a father. Nick is living his life. He is not crying about what he can't do. He focuses on what he can do. He focuses on his gifts and talents as a powerful manifester and creator. Don't tell me that you are not powerful. You are surrounded by examples of avatars, bodhisattvas, mystics, masters, and alchemists who are all being all that they desire to be, doing all that they desire to do, and having all that they desire to have. They are alive, awake, and aware of the power that life is. They know that through every thought they are creating, and as a result, they are masters at manifestation. That's what being a superhero means. What's true for them is true for you. You are powerful, you are great, and you are heroic. Now go live the life that you are here to live.